Hello, this is Ben, and today I'm going to be sharing some tips to improve your LEGO builds and scenes. And while most of these tips are going to be LEGO specific, the philosophies behind them are still going to be applicable to most other art forms. So even if you're not a LEGO builder, I'm sure there's something in this video that you'll still find useful. My first piece of advice is about weathering and texturing. So to start off here, I'm going to create kind of a medieval structure, mostly in gray, but what I'm doing here is I'm only using one type of brick and in one color. This creates a structure that looks fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but it looks a little flat and it's lacking a lot of detail. So here I've put it into a little scene, I've added some trees and a character, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with it, but it is lacking some character and it's lacking some history. You know, this building doesn't look old, it doesn't look medieval. As far as anybody knows, this was just constructed. So now I'm going to recreate the same structure again, this time adding in some what they're called masonry bricks and some other details, as well as mixing in some colors to create some varied textures and add some weathering into the build. Not only does this make it more visually interesting, but it creates a sort of story. You get a feel for how old this building is and its history. So now once again I've added the little scene back, and as you can see it feels much more lived in, much more real, and much more believable. My next piece of advice concerns what a lot of builders refer to as the SNOT technique, or studs not on top. This is when a builder uses certain bricks that allows them to build on the side or in any direction other than up. Here are some examples of traditional SNOT bricks, and now I'm showing you an example of a design that uses SNOT techniques pretty heavily. This is a clock tower, as you can see, and maybe it's not easy to tell at first, but a lot of this is built on its side, and like I said, that adds depth and interest and a little extra detail than you would get normally. You can achieve some portions that you couldn't get just by building upwards. Now I'm going to show you exactly what parts of this structure are built using SNOT. Now you can see these details on the sides of the clock tower are made using SNOT techniques. It's basically just a couple of strips I'm adding to the side to create some extra depth and detail like you would see on actual real-life architecture, and that's the goal, is to create something that looks real. Then again, I'm using it on the top of the clock tower to create a little extra detail, some ornate details around the top. And as you can see, this kind of texturing is just impossible to get by building directly upwards. My final piece of advice is about storytelling with your builds. This first example here is, once again, there's nothing quite wrong with it. It's a simple scene, but none of the characters are really interacting. So now I have rearranged the scene and created something that's a little bit more interesting. I have this criminal that's broken out of his jail cell. He's being chased by a guard. There's another guard trying to shoot an arrow at him. His friend is on the other side of the river trying to catch him, and there's a man he's trying to jump over in the longboat. So as you can see, that adds a little bit more reason for somebody to keep looking at your model. And once again, this isn't a tip that is just specific to LEGO. It can be used anywhere. I hope there was something you could take away from that, even if you're not a LEGO builder, and if you are, well, I hope this was extra useful. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.